Usually I get Susanna.
Lisa, are your ladies ready?
You guys ready?
All right, yeah, let's
Yep,
go then.
we're good. No, I guess so.
All right.
Is Michael? What? Oh, he is. Yeah, he's here. So I'm going to stay.
Just the agenda.
I will stay
Yeah.
here.
All right.
Okay, for the 2024 preliminary budget for human resources, the only change is the addition of the last line, other services and charges, to cover the cost of labor law posters for all of the city buildings and any other miscellaneous costs. We never had that line in our budget, so we added that this year. Any questions?
Salaries went from 2.5 to 378. That's what I'm seeing. What am I looking at here? Personnel office. What page you on?
We're on that. Yeah,
It doesn't help. me.
It's the first page.
yeah, Yeah.
One of 11 in this handout that we got.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I asked. Doesn't it show it, or am I?
No, I can see where you're talking about the
I'm seeing 246 to 378.
That's year to date. You gotta look one line to the left. It goes from 355 to 378.
Gotcha. All right.
You did add a line back in for casual labor. Last year, you'd taken that out and replaced it with a full-time person. So each year, you've added a half a staff
Well,
position.
that is actually a position shared with planning for an intern. So the planning department and HR would be sharing an intern.
One $30,000 intern.
I don't know if planning has it on theirs.
What would the purpose of the, like, what roles and responsibilities would the intern have?
Intern would be, a lot of the HR interns are studying human resources, so it's very helpful if they work in human resource department. For us, it would be filing, doing spreadsheets that we need, doing different reports.
So you had had that in your budget in 2022, doing the same thing at about the same rate. We added last year, or this year, 2023, as an HR assistant. We made that full-time to bump you up a bit. And then this year, you'd be adding it back in after last year's full-time position was added.
An intern to be shared with planning, yes.
One of the things I like to do when reviewing the budgets is take a look at where we were in 2017, the first year of the last budget we had from the last administration, and compare it to where we are today to see where the changes are. So, for example, fire's up 33% in their costs. That's pretty normal going that many years. Community economic development's up 19%. Police is up 50%, which is why I got in a little conversations with them last year, right? Your department's up double in that time. Your department's gone from 268,000 to 625,000.
So one of the positions, the risk analyst, which is Chris, is not a new position. He was in a different department. He was moved into HR because a lot of the things he does are HR related.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, we had an audit done, and the results of the audit for HR suggested that we needed 2 additional full-time employees to be able to do the work that needed to be done for the audit. We have not yet filled the DEI coordinator position. We have interviewed. We actually are interviewing again next week, so that position is open as of right now, but we hope to fill it by the end of the year.
Some of that increase has also been adrift in the salaries. Some of these positions in the last 3 years have gone beyond what the other, like, middle management level positions have gone by percentage. So like a deputy solicitor's had a 1.5% raise. We've had chief IT's 8.7, assistant director of public works is 6%. Like, that's kind of the average range. Whereas in this office, there's been a much higher drift in salaries, 13% in your position in that time. I noticed that Carol's up 5,000 over the risk management position this year.
Yes, Carol has taken on the role of the civil service secretary, which she will be talking about when she talks about the civil service budget. It is a lot of work, and she has taken that on in addition to what she's already doing.
So who had that before?
The HR generalist did it, but what we have found is that it wasn't tracked appropriately. So this past year, we've done a really good job in tracking and making sure that what belongs with civil service is done with civil service. She was the lowest paid assistant director at the city. So for equity reasons also, she is now equal to the second lowest assistant director at the city.
By ordinance, you're the assistant, right? There's not a director in this 6-person office by ordinance. So when we're comparing some of the director positions from offices that have 100, 200, police, I think we're at over 200 at that level. This is a different level of director. That's why I made the middle management reference compared to the other director positions and the amount of staff they oversee, which is where a lot of that drift has been to catch up.
I am the director of the department. I do have some handouts to pass out, just to
Say
talk.
what, by ordinance, though?
I'm referring to ordinances. That's what sets that.
What would be the top position by ordinance?
By ordinance, it's the finance director oversees a number of offices. Personnel office is one of the offices under the finance and administration.
And is that now not reflected in current practice?
It has drifted to the point where it had always been, if you go to the heritage room at the library, you can compare. It's always been that the finance director has been above and higher paid than the personnel office until this year.
And that's, like, what's the rationale behind that?
So there's, never mind, go ahead.
Mayor,
Yeah, there's a split in the way the mayor's cabinet has been, and his direct lines and direct reports have changed.
So that's all set by ordinance, which it's the responsibility of the administrative, the executive branch to execute the ordinances and charter of the city. It's the first line of there. So it's all set by ordinance, and this is an example of it drifting outside of ordinance and practice. We can't control the practice of it because we're not that branch.
Right.
But we can't control the budgeting of it.
I think that if that's so, then that ordinance needs to be changed.
Yeah, agreed.
Or the practice can be.
Or, yeah, one or the other, but it needs to be, it
No,
needs
the
to match.
ordinance need to be changed. You got a director who's directing 15, 20 people. You have a director that's supervising 120. Director. It's not based on the number of people, it's based on the job you do.
Well, we got 2 meetings left to change that one, Mel.
Well,
We'll put it to a vote.
I'll put it
Eunice, who
on
do you
there.
answer to?
the mayor,
The mayor? No. Who didn't know what the COG was at the last meeting?
pardon me?
The mayor who didn't know what the COG was at the last meeting. Do you know what the COG is?
The COG?
The Council of Governments? Just asking.
I do have some handouts. Sorry.
And while that's going around, I am looking at the planning department, and I'm not seeing anything for casual there's no budget item for casual labor there. So if you could get back to us about that intern.
Lisa, are you familiar with where the funding for the planning department is for casual labor?
They don't have any in their budget.
Yeah, there's a line there for it, and there's no dollars attached to it on page 23 in the main book.
I was not aware that they intended to keep this position through the next year. I knew that Eunice wanted casual labor in her budget, but planning didn't say anything about it.
Jackie came to me and asked me if I wanted to share the person, so.
All right, well, you have a little time to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's not your department, I don't expect you to know it.
Okay, so what I've just passed out, the first sheet, page 1, HR actually supports every employee in every department from the time they're hired, during their employment at the city until they separate or retire. We also support retirees because they receive insurance or a stipend until they're Medicare eligible. This handout shows the current number of city employees by bargaining unit on the left. We have 784 employees with 9 open positions, many of which are in the interview process right now, and a grand total would be 793 employees.
Yeah.
At the bottom right, you will see the updated diversity data, and there is an increase in females and ethnicity from 22 to 23.
It's about
I have a
7.
question. So, is this based on full-time employees or for people who?
This is
were-
every employee. If you look right here, no union, that's PT, that's part-time. So that would be the refuse and the seasonal employees. They are included in this count.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to see an updated chart of full-time employees broken down by the same, numbers, by the same categories.
Just without the part-time?
Correct. Should I?
I think it's just eliminating the one line, right? Yeah,
Yes,
it's just eliminating one line.
the one
Just-
line. So,
We could do the math on that real quick for you. 7 or 60, or,
We don't know what percentage of the non-union part-time people.
as far as if we're doing, okay.
Yeah.
So you're concerned if it's just part-time people getting on the diversity side?
it's possible.
Right.
That, we're not, I'm glad everyone has a job. And I'm happy that we are making strides. And so, because we were at, was it like 95% non-ethnics per se? Yeah. And so, but in this, I wonder if the breakdown would be the same if, if it did not include the part-time people. Because it's one thing when we talk about jobs that pay a living wage and everything, we're happy to have everybody at the city, but, also it'll be a disparity if the bulk of our people of color are hired at $14 an hour instead of at the $27 an hour. That is the average, standard union rate.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have some general
I mean, we can
comments you can offer.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, there's 9 open positions, so they're positions that we know that are needed, or new positions,
Which one?
the 9 open ones.
Yes, those are, they're either replacement people that have left or the 3 police officers are being sworn in next week.
That's counted in the 9.
Yeah, they're right here.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, all right. Well, that's easy. Down to 6.
Are the 2 code people in there?
Not till the budget. Not till the budget passes.
Okay, it's not budgeted yet, okay.
Great.
That's just currently as of today.
Yeah, terrific.
On the second page, although HR doesn't bring in revenue, The second handout shows ways that we have saved money in 2023. We're reviewing policies and procedures and tracking procedures that were not consistently tracked in the past. So the savings are the switch in provider for our random drug testing is a savings of $6,432.50. We had a change in policy for all non-union new hires. If a employee is hired prior to August 1st, they receive all of their vacation and sick time at the date of hire. If they are hired after August 1st, they would receive prorated vacation and sick through the end of the year, and all employees get their sick and vacation in January. Excuse me. Previously, this was not done consistently, so a non-union employee could have been hired in November or December, getting all of their time, and then getting it again in January. So just by changing that policy, just this year alone, with the 6 employees that we hired after August 1st, that's a savings of $44,761.54.
That's very good.
New hire physicals, we are now only requiring them for Teamsters and maintenance, so people working laborers rather than everybody. That is a savings this year of $1,302. So the grand total is $52,496.04.
Who were they required for before?
Everybody.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought about it, why would everybody, what would we do if someone didn't pass a physical? It's not like we, so if they have a labor type position, those are the ones that are required for the physical.
I know this isn't a budget question, this is just curiosity. Do police and fire have different drug testing? Like, what's the reason for them being exempt from the drug testing? Or is that they still have to do the breath and alcohol? I'm just trying to figure out that.
You're looking at 2024?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are not requiring breath alcohol for new hires, only urine testing. Police and fire fall under civil service, which is a
Okay.
total different requirement.
Got it.
That's just a little different.
I was just curious why
Yeah.
that was.
So that was actually recommended by the doctor at the occupational health, where we have our drug testing, that we wouldn't need to have the breath and the urine. So that will be a savings of $33 per employee for next year.
Right, because the breath would only do active alcohol.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
And so,
Right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to show that,
Marijuana's become
we're always
legal.
looking for ways to save money and update policies and procedures.
Communication, 72 grand.
So the next page is actually civil service.
That'd be me. Okay. It's not a huge budget, but it is what it is, obviously. And what you're seeing here on the top of page 3 is our year-to-date expenses. Down below, you're going to see an expense that comes into play, but it only comes into play next year, and I'll explain it. So, psychological exams are done for every police officer, every firefighter that's hired. The fire test is only done every 2 years on the odd year, so that was an expense for this year, but it won't be for next year. And we pay the proctors. These are current firefighters that come in and proctor the test, but they don't get overtime for it. They just get a flat rate. So we haven't incurred this expense yet, but we will be, because the CPAT is the physical agility test. The written test, we also have proctors for that, but there's only 4 of them, and it's not as many hours. And I'm there to proctor, and so are the other 2 girls in HR. We don't get paid extra for that. So, the Gatehouse Media that you're looking at here, that was the ad that was put in the paper. It's required, it's a legal notification whenever we have applications for fire. That's a requirement according to the Civil Service Rules and Regs. We used to put it in multiple papers. Now that we have media and social media and the website, we just chose to put it in the local paper. The applications are online, and we get them from all over the country, so it's working. Court reporter, we're putting that in the budget for next year. In the event that we have any hearings, we need a court reporter. And those hearings usually happen if you have a candidate that is disqualified. I notify the candidate and tell them they have 10 days to request a hearing to appeal. And if they decide to do that, and they do from time to time, then we have a court reporter come in from sergeants so that the whole thing's recorded. So the next item on here is the FPSI written fire test. I mentioned that. That was done in July of this year. We had, back in, 2 years ago, we actually did it online because of COVID. And I went back and looked at the cost of that. Was over $7,000. So, but we also had a lot more applicants because they didn't have to make it here. And we do have people come in from out of town for the test, so it's not like it's, just local people. Obviously, if they get hired, they have to move here because of ordinance, so anyway, there's $3,088 was for the FPSI test, and TransUnion and occupational health. Those are the credit checks. Anybody that, okay, you get on the list. You pass all your tests, you get on the list, and you've got a fire list and you've got a police list. That doesn't mean you're going to get hired. It just means you're on the list, and if you're a veteran, you're going to get 10 extra points, and you're going to move up on the list. When you have openings, so you have 3 openings. We try to hire in groups because it's more efficient for training. So you have 3 openings, you go to the list, and you pick the top 3 people, and you start then doing the vetting. So you're doing the background checks, and the police take care of their own background checks, but they look to us once they're done with all they don't just do background checks, they do lie detector tests, and they also do interviewing. And when they get to that point where they're ready and they talk to the candidates, and they'll say to me, it's time to do a credit check on them, or it's time to set them up for the psychiatric exam. So we take care of that in HR. Down on the bottom, it kind of lists the kinds of things that HR does for civil service. We do all of it for fire. Police does some of their own, and then they turn it over to us once they're done with what they have to do. They're actually governed by another organization, MOPEC. Chris Janis can talk more about that if you need to know more about it. But when we do the background checks, it doesn't have to be as deep a dive for fire as it is for police for obvious reasons because of their jobs. But for fire, we actually have them pay for their own background check. And it's a Pennsylvania verification, criminal background check. So, and then occupational health. That is a physical and a drug and an alcohol screening for all candidates. They have to pass that. So the ones that are starred in red are every other year, says on the bottom, odd years. And the green star, which is the Bucks County, and that's for the fire promotion test. Civil service requires promotions to captain or lieutenant. You have to take a test. And then you get on a list. They have their own list. And if an opening comes up, you promote from that list. So that's every other year on even years. Any questions?
If an individual pass all the tests, but yet have a poor credit rating, and that person could be the best person for the job, is he or she eliminated?
We don't actually check credit scores. All we're looking for are there are a lot of charge-offs. And if there are a lot of charge-offs, there could be concerns, you're going into people's homes. As a firefighter, police, they need to be trusted. If we see that, then there's a discussion that's held, and then a decision gets made from there. Since I've been doing this job, I was actually involved with the civil service from a standpoint of knowing what was going on a couple years ago. I just took on the responsibility of it in February of this year. Since I've been involved, I haven't seen anybody disqualified for that. Police might tell you differently, I don't know, but I haven't seen that. When I do the credit checks, I look at them before I give them to police, and if I see anything that looks questionable, I'll talk to fire administration about it. That hasn't happened since I've been doing this.
If you
So,
have a fireman coming from Ohio or New York, you only check them in Pennsylvania?
they do a Pennsylvania background check, yes.
So if they're 6 months new to Erie or whatever, they might have started fires or whatever in Batavia, you name it.
Yeah.
It'd be wide open. It's a good thing we have good firemen to check that stuff out. It's a big loophole.
With all the consideration and the success you guys have had with DEI, is the credit checking required for those, or is that something
It's a best practice, but it's something that can be talked about.
So that's something that is one of those like systems that's an issue. Like, and I just mean this as the day my daughter turns 18, she's going to become an authorized user on my American Express, and she'll have a credit score better than probably half the people in this room. Like she'll never see.
Not necessarily, because they go back and they look at your history, how long, I used to work in banking, so we look at the history, how long have you had this credit that you've done well with.
Yeah, I mean, when she becomes an authorized user, she'll now have a credit card that's 20 years old at 18 years old with that history applied to her. There's ways to pass our credit scores on, and a lot of times in minority communities, there's a lot of studies about credit, because we do this with home ownership issues when we're talking about the city and education.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of disparity between race, and especially with young people, and credit scores. That might be something that.
We don't look at the scores.
Okay, it's just the
Yeah,
general
it's-
credit,
yeah.
the
On her
history.
side.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the question would be on the other side, when you pass on along the information, what would be the disqualifying or not disqualifying within the context of once you pass along the information, what's done? And maybe from a DEI standpoint, if we have an analyst there, somebody can look into that as we move forward. So.
Here, quick Google. People between the ages of 25 and 29. Black community average score is 582. Hispanic community 644. White 687. So I mean, you're looking at a more than 100-point disparity between blacks and whites between ages 25 and 29. With our emphasis on DEI, that seems like a very particular area for potential.
But you did say scores, though.
I know,
Okay.
and you're not going. You're just going with the one particular area of it. So I mean, I do realize where the hole in my suggestion is on this, but
Right, but we don't know what's going on after you package the information and it goes
Yeah.
to the next level. And so that would be where the conversation would take place.
yeah, and outside our scope at this table. So
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
And often they don't look at just one aspect of it, they look at the whole picture. And if it's a background check and it's something, it was like a criminal activity that took place, and if it's a police officer and how recent it is, all those things are taken into consideration.
Okay.
Right, just so, not in the context of this room or these departments, but it's been historically shown that those credit scores or whatever, or histories can be weaponized in the hiring of suitable candidates, or how you deciding who's suitable.
I can't
and
speak
not.
for what happened prior to like 2 years ago, but I haven't seen anybody disqualified because of the
Right,
credit.
I was just going from a historical perspective.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. It's just interesting to get to know that process.
Did you want to look at the budget? I mean, the budget document?
Yeah, barely changed. Those are the ones we like. It went down a little bit. Terrific. Because of the advertising, she explained that.
Any other questions for civil service?
No.
We ready
Even
for
the
risk?
postage in there was an allocation, it wasn't anything we spent, it was, right?
Right, I said that for every department throughout the whole process. We reallocated the way we do postage. General government is paying all the postage unless we can designate it as one specific department. Because we were getting a group postage bill and just allocating it by percentage, and we're not doing that anymore. Do you want me to bring risk up?
Oh, can I mention one thing? The CPAD is set up. If anybody's interested in going to see it or trying it out, let the clerk's office know and I can arrange that. That might be a little fun thing to do.
It's a test at the fire.
It's
Oh,
the
the test.
physical agility test that fire goes through. It's a standardized test.
Oh, okay.
Look at her, she's smiling.
You want to be a firefighter?
It is fun. We had,
You work 3 days
I
a
wanna
week,
do
make
it.
lots of money.
Ask Susie at the gym. He knows I like to, be active, so I'm something.
you might want to
So where's this test? Where's this physical
Well,
fitness test
we
at?
just bought the Miller Brothers building, so we've got it set up there. And there's actually a schedule that I brought with me, but it's set up for 10 weeks. So the candidates, the people that took the test in July, the written test, the top 40 that scored there, once the BETS points are applied, get invited to take the CPAT.
Oh.
Then a schedule is put out there, and they can come and practice for 8 weeks, 9 weeks prior to
Oh,
it.
that's good.
The test is actually a week from Saturday, but we probably shouldn't have a lot of, like, us there
Yeah.
for the test, but we can go, I can work it out with the deputy that manages it.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to go, we pick a date and a time and see if it works out for him and try it out. I've done some
Yes.
of it. Some of it I said, I ain't doing that. The sledgehammer thing, forget it.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I can tell
yes.
you that. Well, if we can go back 20 years, I'll be there.
At least 2
There's a stair stepper, there's a hose pole, there's a body, it weighs 200 and some pounds, you get to drag that.
Have to drag it 50 feet.
No, you drag it, you don't have to pick it up.
That was on TV.
There's a ladder,
But if you can pick it up, you can.
you pick it up, you're in. But anyway, if you want to, let Lori know, and we can arrange that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, if it's on a Wednesday, I think we could make it work.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it can even be after the test is done, because they're not gonna break it down right away, so.
Christmas time,
Interesting.
agility test. Sounds great.
You have to sign a waiver. If you get hurt, you're on your own.
Of course, of course. I'm sure you have those.
Ask risk management, right?
Who's up next?
All right, risk.
All right.
We're gonna need cheerleaders, so. There we go. That's what we need. Those are just extra.
Risk. Yeah, there you go, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you. What's going on? Nell, how you doing? Not too bad.
You survived even though we cut your budget.
Yeah. I wish. That's a hard one. We're gonna go right through the budget and out of the budget book, or
Yeah, sure.
page 85 we're on there? Well, I guess you
We're
guys.
3 of 11.
3 of 11, yeah. So the first part of risk is 0563, which is workers' compensation. 4041 there, professional services and risk control. That's going up a little bit next year, but that is not necessarily new spending. We decided we were paying for a lot of safety related things and safety training out of the risk management fund in 0571 in years past. We decided it made more sense to move that spending up to the line item professional services and risk control, just because it's titled risk control, so it seemed to make a little more sense to put the safety things there. So that increase isn't, like I said, necessarily new spending, it's just being moved to that line item. Next is state fees and risk control, state fees and risk control. 5,000 of that is, that's the PCORI fee that comes out of there, which is a federal tax related to the Affordable Care Act that we have to pay each year. 25,000 out of there is, we're self-insured for workers' comp, so we don't pay an insurance company. To be self-insured, there are certain fees you have to pay to the state, so those fees come out of there. I'm expecting a slight increase there because our claim spend has gone up a little bit in this year compared to 2022. So those fees are based on a formula, and part of the formula is your spend. So that's why I'm expecting a little increase there. And then 4065 is our excess workers' comp insurance. Because we're self-insured, we have to buy what is called excess comp or stop loss. That's for claims that exceed a certain amount. For us, it's 500,000. It's 650,000 for police and fire, and 500,000 for everybody else. So that's that insurance there. And then 4067 is just simply the claims that we're paying on a weekly basis, being self-insured. I'm putting a little increase there for next year. We do have some larger claims that are still open that I'm concerned about. From 22 to 23, we actually took it down $100,000, but because of some claims that came in this year, we're going to increase that back to 870.
Are there any procedural things that you see would be opportunities for the city, given the massive jump between 22, 23 in terms of claims, like best practices or different things? Just seeing that large of a jump is concerning.
You mean in terms of what I budgeted, or from the actual spend?
The actual spend.
Well, so 2022, it was a record-breaking year.
Okay.
I went back as far as I could. And that's the first year the city's ever been under $300,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was kind of an anomaly. I wish that was the average.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the disparity there. It was super low.
Okay.
We're normally right around that 500,000. But again, we had the officer shot this year,
right? Which is
going to be a larger claim, and so we had a couple cancer presumption claims with fire.
Okay.
So those stack up. So, but yeah, 2022 was a record low year.
Okay.
Next is property and liability insurance. So 4061, that's just the general liability. Not expecting anything out of the ordinary there, outside of market increases. Property insurance, we're looking at a substantial increase. I honestly thought it was going to be worse. We had another large claim this year for the zoo. They're actually the only.
They owe me some golf balls.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, they owe me some insurance premium. So yeah, we've had some bad claims recently at the zoo. This past year was a pipe froze right over Christmas. So they had a pipe burst in their admin building. So we were on the hook for that one. 4063 is auto insurance. This stuff's pretty cut and dry. It's just the premiums we have to pay. We are expecting, you can see down in 4069, we're expecting a substantial increase for our police professional coverage. This year it was 219. I was advised by our brokers to potentially double that, so that's what we did. I haven't seen the final numbers yet. None of these numbers here for property casualty are set in stone. I haven't got our final proposal. These are just based on what I'm seeing in the market and being advised by our broker. So we should have the final numbers, I think, next Friday. So I'm hoping hoping we come in underneath these projections, but. So any questions there for the?
Do you think we're gonna need to adjust these numbers between our first reading and our final reading?
I'm hoping in a good way. I'm hoping we'll have to adjust them because they're too high, is what I'm hoping.
You're projecting a cut, struck by lightning.
That- That's right. I always ask for worst case scenario when I'm putting this together. So we'll see. Like I said, hopefully on next Friday, they come in much lower and we have to adjust it that way and not the other way.
Oh, we just come in under budget next year, then that'll be okay. That's not the bigger concern I have, is if it swings the other way and we need to vote on it and do transfers, and, so if we have to vote on it ahead of time or do transfers, I'd just vote on it ahead of time if we have the information.
Okay.
We could amend anything in the budget but it needs 2/3 to bump it up and a majority to bump it down. So if there's anything that needs significant change, let us know.
Okay, absolutely.
There's always transfers in the year, though, so it's
Yeah.
not like it's a.
Right.
All right.
The last section is the group insurance, 0579. Out of here comes, we're self-insured for our health insurance. So a big portion of that are the claims that we're paying for health insurance. For next year, it's about 13.2 million projected. The other portion out of here is what we have to contribute into the Teamsters. They have their own separate welfare fund that provides them with their health insurance. So we just pay a monthly premium per employee per month of who's enrolled in their plan. So that's the projection there, a little over 3 million for those premiums. And then the life insurance is staying the same, and the vision will stay the same as well. So really, the big increases here are for health insurance, and the police professional for the liability insurance.
All right. Is that it for you guys? Yep. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The police chief had asked for us to go into an executive session with a personnel matter for this. Is that, they wanted to share something with us at the beginning of their presentation in our caucus meeting.
The budget session.
No, we're going to be coming out here to discuss their budget after seeing this, after addressing this quick personnel matter.
Okay. So it's not a budget, not a budget matter in any way.
You don't need to bring the budget.
Okay.
I think we're just going to be visual. You got everything set up, Chief? Everything set up? It'll take a few minutes.
We have a PowerPoint. It's about 18 minutes long, and I think it covers everything, but we have handouts for everybody. If you have questions during the program, I'd say just ask them, you know, if as soon as you have one.
You guys used the same clip art as last year.
Yes.
At the table, the mayor, Lisa.
If everybody's ready, I'll just start zipping through this. A couple news headlines here we throw in. The cold case detective was the newly created position, already made 2 arrests from 1988 and 2012. Operation Failed State is a joint operation of the Erie Police, the FBI, Eagle Task Force, and other agencies. It resulted in 58 arrests, 28 gun seizures, $200,000 in cash, 152,000 fentanyl pills, kilo of coke, 100 pounds of meth, 4 kilos of fentanyl, and we found that this group was tied to the Sinaloa drug cartel out of Mexico. So, little old Erie, we're on the pipeline. We supply a lot of area around us. The next one, Rakeem Jones was just recently arrested in Georgia for the 2022 attempted murder. You saw that on the video, the shooting of the police car. ShotSpotter gave us an alert of shots fired. When we got there, we found a suspect. He had 2 fully automatic Glock handguns on him. We recently had the trial where 3 defendants were found guilty on all 64 counts from the 2018 crime spree. There were 2 separate homicides, an attempted homicide, a burglary, a robbery, and aggravated assault. Took 5 years, but we brought him to justice. We have a 100% clearance rate on our homicides, 2 years running now. So we have had 20 homicides, and every one of them has been solved, which is fantastic. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And our last headline is Sergeant David Stuck was shot in the line of duty on July 30th. He continues rehabilitation for a long recovery period. Into the meat and potatoes. Erie Police Department this year, we're over 54,000 calls for service with a full month to go. We're anticipating that we could hit about 60,000 calls for service. If you notice, in 2020, we were at 45. We're almost going to be up 15,000 calls in a year's period. On our next slide, the crimes against persons, bottom of page 5. We're down 127 cases, we're up 18, so our net is we're down 116 less crimes against persons, so I think we're doing pretty good there. Top of page 6, property crimes. Here, we are down 418 property crimes so far this year, so compared to the same periods the last 3 years. So the crimes are trending in the right direction. Our DUI enforcement is up, mostly because the officers have 400 less crimes, theft reports to take, so now they can go out and do some actual DUI enforcement. And our domestics are down slightly for comparative. The next slide at the bottom of page 6, I'm very proud of the department about this here. The national averages for the main categories of crime that are reported, and the Erie Police Department clearance rates. And we've knocked it out of the park here on every category. Homicides, national average is 52%. We're at 100% for 2 years running. Aggravated assault, national 36, we're at 64. Rapes 26, we're at 64. Arsons 25, we're at 50. Robberies at 23, we're at 32. burglaries 13, we're at 20. Thefts are 12%, we're at 19. In motor vehicle theft, national average 9%, we're at 23%. So the guys are doing,
Can you just help me understand, what's the word, what does clearance mean on that?
clearance means that we have solved the case. An individual has been arrested, and/or they may be dead, or the district attorney has chosen not to charge them because they might be in jail on other charges.
Okay.
More serious, so they don't go ahead and charge them. So we've cleared the case, we've identified a perpetrator, and they've been brought to justice.
That takes it all the way up to conviction? I'm just like doing the math of.
Not to conviction,
Okay,
to arrest.
everything up to conviction, okay, okay.
We don't,
Yeah, that's up to judges and juries.
that's right. Again, I can't say enough about the work that the officers at the Bureau are doing. The next page just shows our 13 victims of homicide this year, and they range from a 16-year-old to a 62-year-old. The next slide at the bottom of 7 shows the trend. 13 jumps up. 15 is the highest watermark that I'm aware of. We're only 2 behind that. Luckily, we were down only 1 juvenile, so moving in the right direction. Top of page 8, homicides. From January through October 31st for the 3-year period, there's a big jump. We went from 5 to 6 to 13. But the orange category shows what we believe are gang-related shootings or deaths. 3, and we're only at 2 this year. Of the 13 homicides this year, there were 6 domestic-related homicides. Some years it just happens where we get a more than normal, and this just happens to be one of those years. Again, the homicide national was 52. Over the last 6 years, we're sitting about 88%, and I think we're very close to closing 1 and maybe 2. I'm going to hope by this time next year, we'll have 2 more of those closed. So I'm hoping we're in the 90%, which is, again, great. One of the things we are finding out, though, that DNA testing is going up. We had 1 case, there was 1 sample, and we needed a special test done on it, and it was $10,000 just for that 1 test. So, we don't do a lot of those, but in homicides, we do, so.
That 23andMe was like $100.
It does get our costs up a little bit. Top of page 9, number of people shot, and again, this is just through October 31st. We've actually 58 and 58, and in this year, we were down to 43. So even the number of people being shot, we're working down. There's 52 weeks in a year, and I'm hoping to keep it under there because it's much better than the year we had 79. Bottom of page 9, this is, again, going back to the cleared status. These are cases where there's a shooting victim. In 2021, we had 45 shooting victims. We closed 17 for 37%. In 2022, we had 54 victims. 27 cases were cleared. We cleared 50% of those. We also started hiring the extra officers for ARP in 2022. 2023, this year, we also hired some more officers. We went from only 39 people shot at the time, this was snapshot. 35 cases were closed at 90% clearance. The capacity, you always hear organizations need capacity to get the job done, and I think it's clearly showing that the capacity of those couple extra officers, even though they're new and rookies, they're helping free up other officers to do more. Top of page 10, the juvenile unit. On January 1st of this year, we started a juvenile unit. 4 detectives. Those 4 detectives were assigned 156 cases through October 31st. So it's about a month ago. So far, they have cleared 101 of them, so they're at 65% clearance for their unit. But this is the best part. The entire police department, including their 156, has charged 215 juveniles. 49 of those 215 have already been sent to diversionary programs that will not create a criminal record. Another 55 cases are still pending review by the district attorney's office to see if they qualify for the diversionary program. If they qualify, almost half of the juveniles charged will not have a juvenile record.
Any idea what that rate was before the specialized unit?
We never tracked it until now,
Yeah, all right.
but we will be back next year with some more. Top of page 11, the Crisis Intervention Unit. We started that in May. In the beginning of May, they took a couple weeks to do some trainings. Our partnering agencies were Crisis Service, Children and Youth Mental Health Association, UPMC Western Behavioral Health, Mill Creek Community Behavioral Health, and numerous homeless shelters in the downtown area. We've been getting great feedback. On average, they are answering 15 to 20 calls per day, which comes out to about 550 a month, my inspector tells me. And he tells me that we're going to project about 6,600 calls for the crisis car. They're answering voluntary mental health problems, involuntary mental health, domestic violence, community outreach, adult welfare checks, and dealing with children and youth, the children outreach. On the bad news, bottom page 11, the opioid
Drugs.
has epidemic, is not receding yet. Our numbers you'll see there, this year's numbers are only through October 31st. We're already beating last year's for the number of overdoses, and the overdose deaths are going to exceed that number if they haven't already, because this is about a month behind in data. So it continues. We've had several cases now where it's not just a single or a double overdose. You saw a video with 3. We had another house where there were 3 at. It's just becoming more and more prevalent. It's scary.
Do you have multiple people, or the same people that you saved on a routine?
There are some, yeah. I don't know that it's as much as it used to be, but you know, it's amazing. And luckily, we're getting our Narcan through a grant through the district attorney's office, because we've been going through it.
Are most of the overdose fentanyl?
Fentanyl's by far the driver in the deaths.
Do you feel like community organizations and just, folks who are serving the community have enough access to Narcan? Like, would that be something beneficial, or do you feel like it is sufficient at this point in terms of access of it in the community, whether it's at the ER?
I've not heard of any issues in getting it. I know
Okay.
that it's available to the community. I know that from reading reports, our officers will arrive on the scene and somebody's already given them a dose.
Okay, good.
The issue is that sometimes it takes 2, 3, or 4
Yes.
doses.
From like an organization standpoint, our neighbor's place.
Same at the sisters.
But
we
it's
have it.
yeah, it's like the first thing I checked yesterday, and we
Yeah.
had 4 doses, and then I know, I know just around the building we've got 8 to 10.
Yeah, same.
All right. Top of page 12 here. Sorry, Lenny. Since 2018, we've tried to stay within our budget, and we have stayed under the budget. Wait a second here. Next slides, Chris. Bottom of page 12, the police overtime.
Hey, I just want to let you know, they did give us some solutions to cut cost on overtime with their new training program. You got anything you want to bring us this year?
Well, you know, if you come in on overtime, do you get paid to sleep? I just made a lot of enemies. Sorry, guys. I have lots of friends with the fire department, but I had to let that one out. But no, we have consistently tried to, I won't even say try, we've consistently, since 2018, have stayed within our budget. This is just the overtime line. This isn't the entire budget. There was one year where we were off by $10,000, not bad, considering the total amount. But the overall budget was within, we've been within our budget every year. Correct, Lisa?
Correct.
We're very, we take the fiscal responsibility serious, and commend my command staff that's out in the audience for their diligent work on monitoring overtime.
I took a look at your overtime, and I took it as a monthly breakdown. It's almost all in the summer. You know, that was a few years back that I looked through. I think I took about 5 years. I asked Lisa to organize it all for me. I think I got 5 years by monthly breakdown. It's every year, May to September, you have a surge in overtime. I presume
Vacations.
Vacations?
Vacation.
All right. Is there, because I know that in our third-class city, like, there is opportunity to bring on short-term officers by the mayor's, the American designated officers for up to 90 days. Is there opportunities for, like, so many of your officers that are retiring that might want to be around here in the summer, or something where you could bring on, like, a supplemental force in the summers?
Nothing I'm aware of. I mean, we can explore the possibility, but we'd also have to work with the union on that.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the union would have major challenges on that. Okay.
Top of page 13, it just talks about the overtime in hours instead of dollars, and you can see how it fluctuates. Really, there's a lot of factors that drive the overtime. A lot of it is crime. A lot is manpower backup. Like you said, during the summer, it's vacation time. If you could extend summer around here, we could spread it out easier. The bottom of page 13, this year, our overtime budget has additional money in it. So far this year, we have an additional $737,000 above what's budgeted by the city. And that comes in the form of grants and reimbursements, and they're all listed there for different categories. My overtime this year was $1.3 million. And this is $737,000, so over half of my budgeted overtime we've gotten through other means too. So we're spending a lot, but in order to take down 58 drug dealers, the way they were done, it takes a lot of overtime. That was a very intensive investigation.
They added 500,000 to that overtime budget for overtime. Didn't they go to, Lisa, instead of 1.3, didn't they go to 1.8 or something?
1.98.
Well, yes, that's going to be our proposed budget. We're asking for 1.9. Because, and I'll show you that in another slide here. If I can come back to that 1 second here. Just the reimbursement and grants, the history of them going back to 2018. You see that since we've been collecting as much as we can every year. It's almost $2.9 million we've gotten since 2018 that we're doing these other gun violence initiatives and stuff using these kind of grants and reimbursements. I think I got it's further down than I thought, but I'll come back to it. In 2023, the departments received some grants and reimbursements for equipment only. $4.4 million in equipment we've gotten through grants. We got a grant for the Crisis Service Safe Harbor next year, which is $396,000. We have reimbursement for salary and benefits. Our cold case detective, our insurance fraud detective, and the auto theft detective. And I might be missing one other one, but Housing Authority. Thank you. That money comes in to pay salary and benefits of officers for the department. We're at what, 737. We're budgeted at 820 in overtime to use from other sources.
For that 4.4 million for the equipment, what percentage or roughly of your total equipment does that cover?
Our, Donna, is our equipment budget? No, just what is in the budget line for equipment? Couple $1,000?
Come on up.
Consumables is
Oh, I see. 4039?
$25,000.
Okay.
Yeah, our city budget, we get $25,000.
Okay. So this is
This, all the
all of it.
This is incredible, the amount of, thank you, Abby, for all the work that she did in getting us a lot of grants that we would have never had the capacity ourselves to do. Page 15 at the top. The police department has 3 accounts. It's civilians. There's 23 civilians, plus 2 in the traffic court. In the police department, 194. In the 2024, I'll go to the totals there. 2022 was 37 million. 2023 was 38.8, sorry. In 2024, it goes up to 41,006. It's a significant jump. But Lisa has promised me $2.5 million of ARP money to pay towards the salary of the officers. That's the officers we hired.
What happens to them when the art money's gone, Chief?
Hold on, I'll get to it. So right now, the total for this year that we've put in is 41.6. With $2.5 million coming back in ARP money, means that our budget will be $39.1 million.
You failed to do it.
Out of 103,000 for the city, 39,000 is 37% of the budget, not 40, 37.
You failed to adjust the denominator for ARP money. The way you calculate percentage is numerator and denominator.
Okay.
You took the ARP money off the numerator, you forgot to take it off the denominator. See how it still says 103,000 there, or 103 million?
Yeah.
Did you take the ARP money off of that line, or you just took it off the police?
Is that in the is that in the?
It's in the total budget and it's in the revenue budget.
Nice try, man, but you're good. You still might be under 40, though.
We tried.
You still might be under 40.
All right.
Are you doing it now?
Anyways, so
I'll do
this is the year, 2024 is the year that we've hired what we've hired. Initially, we were going for 21, then we decided last year, we went to 18, we took that extra money and we purchased the Miller Brothers for the fire department.
You're still under 40. That's 39% if I did it right in my head.
Good, 39, all right, thank you.
Verifying.
So this year, we will stay at the number we have. If somebody retires, we'll replace them. We've always had a replacement of somewhere between 8 and 10 employees. So Lisa will do the math and figure it out so that halfway through the year, we will show that so many employees have retired, and that will do that for 2 years until we're back to 173. By that time, we will have another 18 to 20 employees gone from the top of the pay scale, and they will be starting at the bottom of the pay scale, which is 5 years to get up to Class A. So the budget will see should see some savings just based on that. I brought it up last year and I mentioned it earlier. We also have, we're supporting Uncle Sam, and we're sending some employees overseas. And when they're gone, they get their, the family benefits, but there's no salary. So we have 2, possibly 3 that I can't replace because they're coming back next year. So there's some salary savings there. So I think also what we've been using the ARP money for, some of the equipment and stuff that we have is going to last longer. It's going to be here. We had upgraded or bought more radios with the ARP money. Those should last us so that the current ones, if they start failing, we're going to save some of the replacement money on stuff like that. There's revenue replacement that's been brought up, and there's going to be some more discussions on that.
So is this 2.5 million of ARP money, is that money that was already originally allocated into the police budget? Okay.
Now, that money was allocated before the final rule came out. And so you've made your plans thinking you have a deadline. The way revenue replacement works, you can extend that, if you wanted to cut 2 or 3 in the next 2 years, you could extend that out beyond the previous deadline. Has that made any bearing on your plans?
We haven't adjusted the plans. We're aware of it, and we've talked preliminarily that we can make changes over the next couple of years. So
I think the changes have to sort of happen this year, unless, at least for us to make adjustments to revenue replacement, right?
What changes are you talking about?
If they were to extend their surge by not going so abruptly,
Yeah.
and we rolled it through revenue replacement, then we would have to make that determination by the end of this year, wouldn't we?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I mean, the revenue replacement for each year
Yeah.
is available in future years if
Okay.
you don't spend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we haven't sat down and discussed how we can adjust that to do it.
Yeah.
But we will definitely look at that. Does that answer? Bottom of page 15, all costs are rising, technology, I go through this and I think we didn't have any of this technology 33 years ago, but it's important. It's how we solve the crimes today, and it's just a whole list of them. I won't read them off. I left this in from last year. Why does the department have such a large overtime? And there's 10 things. I won't go into each one. Court time, backfill, training, violent incidents, crime surge, major investigations, community policing, community special attention, assist other agencies in any winter or flooding, major storms. Those are details why that overtime can be in there. Now we're back to why are we asking for 1.9 million in overtime? Last year we cut the overtime to the police department at the end of in the budget process, and we've tried to cut the belt as tight as we can, but as of this point here, and we have 1 month left, right now my overtime budget shows that I'm 334,000 in the hole. Take a breath. Not that bad. I actually have 134,000 in reimbursements coming in that just haven't reached us yet. Still means I'm 200,000 over with a month left. Now, I don't know where the rest of my budget is going to end. You know, we've had some, we've had we're down 5 officers. We're not hiring 3 of them until next week. So there's been some savings on the salary side. At the end of the year, Lisa will let me know how we do, but I'm hoping that we're going to come under budget still. So we're going to try to get the reimbursements in from all these other agencies before the end of the month. But I think we're going to be very close to our budget. And again, I don't like being the guy going over budget. You can see my record for 5 years is being under the budget.
You get the holiday coming too.
We're prepared. Next page just mentions the comp time. Sometimes there's questions about it. But basically, comp time, rather than taking the money, the officer can take time off, half the department. That's great for us because then we're not paying out the other half if they're in a mandatory fill position. It does create some overtime, but it's in the contract, not a lot we can do there. Okay, you heard enough from me. I'm going to turn it over to Inspector Chris Janis here for the next slide.
This is our internal affairs regarding citizen complaints. So as of today, we've got 42 complaints that were filed by citizens. A breakdown of those complaints: two were sustained, 1 was incomplete, 7 were unfounded, 4 were referred to other agencies, and 28 were exonerated. So basically, out of all those 42 complaints, 2 of them were found to be a credible complaint. But the complaints that we're receiving now are basically policy and procedure or attitude related type of violations. Neither of the 2 sustained complaints were use of force complaints. We did have 2 use of force complaints that came in this year. They were both, let me take that back. One of them was a false complaint. It was cleared by body camera video. The other one was was from an incident in 2018, and it came in with several other complaints. So that was also exonerated. So as of right now, we've approximately have 54,328 calls for service. So we're sustaining 1 complaint or agreeing that there was some type of issue with the complaint. So we are at about 1 sustained complaint for every 27,164 calls of service. Compared to last year, our use of force, same thing, we had 2. They were exonerated as well, so there were 0 credible complaints for use of force for both last year and this year.
I can think of 2 good reasons for that. One is Lennox with the young people, and the other one is this guy here with Smoothly, because the police are the friends, and it's becoming a better situation every day.
And the body worn cameras have been
The body cameras are.
been fantastic. They're expensive. I wouldn't go without them again, ever. The last slide here on 18 is just a little update on the Police Athletic League. Again, it started in 2016 with 35 kids and 3 officers. It's now grown. There's over 1,200 kids rostered, 102 Erie police officers involved in the program, along with the sheriffs, our partner, and several other police agencies, and several teachers from the school district, and they're critical to the success of the program. PAL is now in every Erie school building and 3 community centers. They host 4 summer camps, numerous local field trips, as well as they're doing 3 big ones: Washington, D.C., New York City, and Pittsburgh. PAL receives grants because they're a separate 501c3 organization. PAL received grants from Erie Insurance, the Gary Sinise Foundation, and the Robert Irvine Foundation, which were huge. And we'll be having the 2nd annual PAL Ball in February. That's my presentation. If there's any questions, I can try to answer that.
I just want to understand this overtime a little bit better. So after the reimbursements come in, I feel like I'm nickel and diming other departments, and I think we're at like $500,000 that I'm having trouble understanding right now, just with the overtime. So after reimbursements come in, you think you're going to get that back to the close budget range. Let's say you go a little bit over budget and we're at like $1.5 million is probably what we're looking at. If you fail to go over overtime for the first time, you're under it every year, and this was the highest amount you ever had, and you're at maximum staff with this surge without any big trainings this year. So I'm just trying to, this is a 33% jump in overtime from what you historically have used at a time where, from my understanding, I can't see why it wouldn't be the best ever.
Well, we're hoping for the best, we're planning for the worst. We want to make sure that our inroads that we're doing are going to be sustainable, and the push that they're doing to solve these crimes, and still work on the older ones. We just feel that we have a little bit more work to do, that we can really push next year with the staff we have.
Yeah. It seems like,
Besides the fact that we now have more staff, potential is more overtime, because as they make more arrests, there's more court time involved. It's not going to add up to maybe that much, but.
Yeah, I could see it at, 1.65, 1.7, but
oh, you're going higher than I
1.9
thought.
is massive jump.
It seems like more of like a hope than a need type of, even the way you're explaining it. Not to be.
Well, again, we're looking at, with the reimbursements of $134,000, that'll bring me about $200,000. I still have a month of overtime,
Yeah.
so that could be about another $120. So I at the end of the day, I could be between 3 and 320 under budget. Next year, the amount of hours will go down based on the rate of increase. The guys get a 2.5% raise, so you get less hours out of the overtime. So in the past, what we tried to do was raise it according to the pay raise, so that budget number went up. Last year threw us off, and that's why we're just trying to get it back up to where it would be closer in line.
Now, what we also did was we looked at where we were at October 27th, 1.5 million, and projected that out for another quarter.
But you didn't calculate in the reimbursements he was getting.
Do
you think those are optimistic?
That was just based on the overtime used.
So it didn't calculate in the reimbursements that you guys get at the end of the year on this? Or are we being
I
optimistic
think
about the
we
reimbursements?
calculated some of the reimbursements, but not
But we found 2 million.
what we knew to be coming back.
That was by cutting our, from
Yeah, we took
21 to
ARP
18.
funds and moved it over to pay for the public
So-
building.
So typically you guys do a 2.5% increase because of 2.5% raise. If you guys do worse than what you're describing to me, you're still at like 1.5 million. A 2.5% increase on that is 1.537 million, and you're asking for 1.98. That's still a $440,000 difference than what you've historically done and what your worst year this year would project at.
Right, and this is the worst year. You notice in the previous years, we've returned, hundreds of $1,000s because we've stayed under our budget. So I'm not saying we're going to use it. I'm saying that would be a good number to have in case of issues. But if things keep running the way they are and we're as successful as we've been, it'll be a great year. I'll be sitting here next year saying, hey, here's all this money back. But I don't want to come back again next year and go, I'm over budget again. I'm trying to
Yeah.
plan for that.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about budgeting is if you don't spend it, you don't spend it. I mean, like, it doesn't mean you have to spend 2 million on overtime. But, I mean, it's a jarring increase.
Just want to point one thing out. The 1.5 million that's at the end of October includes reimbursements in it. So projecting that out would also include reimbursements.
He just suggested earlier that there was a lot of reimbursements sitting out there that he thought he was going to get at the end of the year to get closer to that budget line.
We're hoping right now about just over 100,000, 134.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that comes in. Again,
Yeah.
I'm still 200,000 over, and I still have another month, and I don't know what the next month's gonna bring.
Okay. I know last year there was some budgeting to acknowledge how many of your officers are, like, right now, we have a certain number that are being paid. You're probably not gonna hire a bunch of them until, you'll hire replacements in June so that we have the benefits on the MMO. Is there room in your budget where some of these are not year-long positions and they're only 40% of the year or 60% of the year?
I don't think we've ever calculated that way.
Okay.
But that, again, it goes to the savings that keeps us under
Yeah.
our budget.
Yeah. No, and that's one thing that we see every year with your budget is that you get budgeted at 40%, you come in at 38%, She fact-checked me. She busted out the calculator. It was 38.8%.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bottom line is, you guys are the rubber that hits the road every day. You go out there and risk your life.
You know,
You got a little bit of money hiding in there. I'll get some of it for no fee increases, Mayor.
we've got 54,000 calls so far that we've answered for the public, and we're gonna add, another month of those calls. And, bottom line is, we've got technology to pay for, and the complaints, there's nobody complaining. As a matter of fact, nobody on council this year has called to tell me, hey, I heard a complaint about an officer. Usually I get a call here or there, but, we're accomplishing our job.
So are we only using the PowerPoint? We're not going through the budget document as well?
We could, if you need to.
I just have a couple questions on it.
Sure.
I'm using the booklet, so I'm on page 37,
Page,
the Office of Police Personnel and Operating Expenses.
share.
What page are you on?
I'm in the booklet, 37.
Oh, hold it, I think I have.
Or it's page 6 of ours.
Page 6 of 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just looking at 4056, the repair and maintenance services. I see that's super underutilized, and then projected for an increase. Can you explain that?
Donna or Nicole, feel free to jump in here. Repair and maintenance, which is the copiers, the agreements, shredders, dictaphone maintenance, exterminator, the identification cards to get through doors, phone and electric service. Does that have anything to do with the new phone system?
There's a portion of the grant, I believe, that's in there as well. Is that for the phone system, or is that?
That should be under communication,
That's
no?
it.
For
Well, it's
phones?
repairing the current phone.
Oh, got it.
That might be, we have what, 45?
56.
56. We got a grant that's covering $56,000 towards replacing the phone system for the police department. Unfortunately, in order to replace the phone system, we have to do all of City Hall. Our portion only covers the police end of it. We've had complaints that people are calling the non-emergency number, and it's sounding like they're very far away. The phone system's very old. We're trying to get it updated where now when somebody calls in a message for an officer, we can put it directly to, every officer will have a mailbox, an electronic mailbox. Right now, the clerk takes a piece of paper, writes a note, puts it in their mailbox, so.
Were those upgrades the main reason for the increase to it between 22 and 23? So there's a jump there, and then the actual year-to-date is quite low, and then there's an increase to it for the 2024.
I'm waiting for,
You're welcome up here.
Come on up.
There's yearly maintenance contracts for those, so.
And the cruisers was like a $8,000. I can mention that.
Okay. After a year, once it's in operation, there'll be maintenance contracts.
Okay.
We also inherited a $8,000 a year service contract for when we originally went to the Erie County Department of Public Safety, when we went up there, all of our modems in the cars, so that's how they communicate. The Erie County Department of Public Safety, Erie County was taking care of that. That contract has now come to us to maintain, and that's $8,000 a year. And that we just got hit with that like 2 months ago. So we did add that into this, projecting that that would be an additional $8,000 per year that we would have as well.
Okay.
right, plus our portable, the radio system, all our portables were purchased with the grant through the county, and that they had a service contract that came with it. That service contract is now done, so any repairs to the radios are on us. We have the police department radios are encrypted. A typical radio, you would think is a couple $100. Ours is a $4,000 per unit cost, and the radio repair guys are now responsible to start stocking parts, plus the batteries are about their end of life. They've got to all be replaced. So that was some of the things that were coming in there.
Okay. And then if no one else has another question, 4043, the education and training, the requested increase for that, is that for specific required training that's needed in 2024? Or if you can just explain that increase.
There's always specialized training that's needed, and, the cost of traveling is gone up. But education, training, and travel. Travel also includes the extradition of wanted people from other states. And we have to pay our officers to go to the other state, when they're arrested.
Right.
And bring them back. So that was the request, because we were turning down a lot of training requests because we were having so many extraditions. And you consider that 97,000 for a department of 190 officers, it's a very small amount for the training.
I also think there were, I was projecting their training budget to go over this year. And we were going to take some of that out of general government, so
Okay.
that's kind of a correction.
Okay. And then last question I have, I know, Chief, you were really looking to have us add a second intelligence analyst for the Office of Police Civilians. Is that still a goal for 2024 and possibly could be covered by a grant, or where are you at with that?
Yeah, I'm looking into grants.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna bring anybody on unless I'm telling you I'm paying for their beginning at least.
Of course. Okay. So still a wish item.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Really enjoyed the presentation tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, that was helpful.
All right, I think that's it then, right? Yep. It's longer than the rest of them.
Good job, Chief.